Today, I'll talk about more of the world's most terrifying serial killer, starting with Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer committed his first murder in 1978 when he was just 18 years old. He would go on killing until his arrest in 1991, after an African American man escaped his clutches and hailed down police near Milwaukee, Wisconsin. When the victim led police back to his captor's apartment, they discovered photographs of dismembered bodies, the severed heads and genitalia of several other men, and a tub of acid that Dahmer had used to dispose of some of his 17 victims. Dahmer had lived a shiftless life, dropping out of college and the army and living with various family members before being kicked out by his grandmother and settling in the Milwaukee apartment. 3 years before his 1991 arrest, and with several murders already under his belt, Dahmer was convicted of drugging and sexually molesting a young teenager. After serving only a year, he was released and continued his killing binge, which focused almost entirely on young men of color. Dahmer's sensational trial, featuring lurid descriptions of his eating the body parts of some of his victims and admissions of necrophilia, renewed the world's interest in serial killers. In 1992, Dahmer was sentenced to 957 years in jail, but was killed by a fellow inmate just 2 years later. Number 2. Ted Bundy. Handsome, well-educated, and brimming with charm, Ted Bundy seemed the unlikeliest of serial killers, which made his decade-long, multi-state killing spree all the more surprising, and to some, appealing. Born to an unwed teenaged mother, Bundy never learned his father's identity and was raised believing that his grandmother was actually his mother, and his mother was actually his sister. Following a difficult adolescence, Bundy graduated from the University of Washington and soon embarked on his murderous spree, killing his first victim in Seattle in 1966. Focusing primarily on attractive college co-eds, Bundy committed a series of murders across the Pacific Northwest. He continued on to Utah and Colorado, killing several more women before being arrested. Despite being convicted of kidnapping, he managed to escape police custody not once, but twice, while awaiting trial in Colorado. He moved to Florida, where he killed several members of a sorority and his final victim, a 12-year-old girl who he raped and murdered. When Bundy was finally apprehended while driving a stolen car a week after his last murder, his trial quickly became a media sensation. It was the first murder trial to be fully televised. It featured Bundy front and center, acting as one of his own defense attorneys. He became a media star, welcoming journalists to his cell, receiving letters of admiration from lovelorn fans, and even marrying one of them, and providing an endless list of clues about additional murders he may have committed, in the hopes of delaying his execution. It didn't work, however. He was executed in the electric chair in 1989, with the true number of his victims unknown. Number 3. Jack the Ripper. In 1888, London's Whitechapel district was gripped by reports of a vicious serial killer stalking the city streets. The unidentified madman lured prostitutes into darkened squares and side streets before slitting their throats and sadistically mutilating their bodies with a carving knife. That summer and fall, 5 victims were found butchered in the downtrodden East End district, sparking a media frenzy and citywide manhunt. A number of letters were allegedly sent by the killer to the London Metropolitan Police Service, also known as Scotland Yard, taunting officers about his gruesome activities and speculating on murders to come. Without modern forensic techniques, Victorian police were at a loss in investigating the Ripper's heinous crimes. After taking his final victim in November, the killer seemed to disappear like a ghost. The case was finally closed in 1892, but Jack the Ripper has remained an enduring source of fascination. The most popular theories suggested the killer's understanding of anatomy and vivisection meant he was possibly a butcher or a surgeon. Over 100 possible suspects had been proposed. Number 4. H Holmes, America's first documented serial killer. H Holmes spent his early career as an insurance scammer before moving to Illinois in advance of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair to work as a pharmacist. It was there that Holmes built what he referred to as his murder castle, a 3-story inn that he secretly turned into a macabre torture chamber. Some rooms were equipped with hidden peepholes, gas lines, trapdoors, and soundproof padding, while others featured secret passages, ladders, and hallways that led to dead ends. There was also a grease chute that led to the basement, where Holmes had installed a surgical table, a furnace, and even a medieval rack. Both before and during the World's Fair, Holmes led many victims, mostly young women, to his lair, only to asphyxiate them with poison gas and take them to his basement for horrific experiments. He then either disposed of the bodies in his furnace, or skinned them and sold the skeletons to medical schools. At the same time, Holmes worked insurance scams, collecting money from life insurance companies. Holmes was finally caught when one of his co-conspirators tipped off the police after Holmes failed to deliver his payout. Holmes was eventually convicted of the murders of 4 people, but he confessed to at least 27 more killings before being hanged in 1896. So those are some of history's worst serial killers and their stories, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I very much, as always, I appreciate you being here more than you know. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time.